You believe that this man is making your Birkins in China? If he's a Birkin artisan, then I'm an astronaut.
What if the designer bag you've been saving for, the one that symbolizes luxury and exclusivity, turned out to be stitched in a factory far away from the fabled ateliers you always imagined? Buckle up, because Cardi B just stepped into a scandal. That's rattling Hermes, shaking the entire fashion world and forcing people to question whether those prized Birkins are as French as everyone believed, or just another manufactured illusion. Let's set the stage with Cardi B's current woes, starting with her discovery that her prized Hermes Birkin bags might be produced in China, rather than in the exclusive French workshops she always believed in. Imagine the frustration. These are the same iconic purses she's flaunted everywhere, from social media to red carpet appearances. The same accessories fans have admired and tried to emulate for years. All of a sudden, she's bombarded by receipts and rumor-fueled social media posts claiming her trustworthy Hermes might be cutting corners behind the scenes.
In China, I can get that for $12.
Go outside and touch grass. Some of you guys feel like this is your moment to shine and you can finally stick it to people that buy luxury goods without even fact-checking anything about any of this information that you're being fed from these factories or people with these TikTok videos which seemingly have false information, everything from pricing to the bags. I just don't understand.
On top of that, Cardi B's personal life is in disarray. She's dealing with a messy divorce from Offset, who was once half of her ultimate hip-hop power couple. As if it couldn't get any more complicated, rumors say she's rebounding with NFL star Stefon Diggs, only to discover he's for the streets, meaning not exactly the stable, committed partner she might have hoped for. Then come these new revelations about her beloved Birkins being potentially no more French than a knockoff phone case. Why does this speculation matter so much to Cardi and her fans? For one, these bags aren't merely fashion statements to her. She's spoken openly about them being a form of therapy, a status symbol that made her feel secure in a tumultuous entertainment world. When you spend thousands, sometimes tens of thousands, on a single accessory, you expect it to uphold certain standards: handcrafted excellence, storied brand heritage, and a luxurious aura that can't be replicated. Now, the suspicion that Hermes might be outsourcing or manufacturing in Chinese factories is shaking that entire foundation. It's not just about where the bags are stitched, it's about the narrative these iconic brands have sold for decades. For Cardi B, who's always wanted the best of everything, the possibility that she's been carrying a product churned out in a faraway assembly line is almost too much to bear, especially at a moment when her personal life is already on shaky ground. Celebrity culture moves faster than a viral TikTok challenge, and the swirling suspicions around Hermes Birkins have attracted big names to weigh in. Kim Kardashian, known for her meticulously polished image, reacted with a practiced PR statement. She insists there's no evidence to label Hermes as guilty. Some critics read her response as carefully scripted, while others see it as the calm voice of reason in an unfolding drama. Kylie Jenner, the queen of soft launch announcements, chimed in with a short, "This is so crazy," leaving fans guessing whether she truly believes the rumors or just wants to avoid tangling herself in controversy. Meanwhile, Zendaya, who typically keeps herself out of messy gossip, broke her trademark silence to offer a subdued take on the matter. In a sense, her reaction underscores how major this issue is. If Zendaya is willing to comment, the subject must be significant enough that ignoring it might look suspicious in itself. Bella Hadid added her own perspective, pointing out that anyone can go online and say something is true, cautioning fans against treating random social media posts as verifiable evidence. But Bella's remark came across as vague, leaving some confused about whether she believes Hermes is innocent or sees potential truth in the rumors. The loudest voice among the celebrity chorus might be Naomi Campbell, whose iconic runway walk is rivaled only by her unapologetic candor. She didn't mince words, condemning sloppy rumors that undermine the craftsmanship these luxe brands are famous for. Her protective stance suggests that she holds deep respect for the artisans and sees these allegations as an insult not just to Hermes, but to the entire heritage of high-end design. Ultimately, these mixed celebrity reactions reflect the public's divided stance. Some are quick to call out corporate underhandedness, while others insist the rumors are just that, rumors. In the whirlwind of Birkins, unconfirmed rumors, and outraged fashionistas, one name keeps popping up: Tanner Leatherstein. If you spend any time on TikTok or YouTube searching for luxury bag authenticity, his face is bound to appear. Tanner's trademark move? He slices open pricey purses, sometimes worth 4 or 5 figures, to reveal what's really inside. His fans appreciate how he demystifies the glitz by analyzing the bag's materials, stitching, and structural quality, while skeptics accuse him of stirring the pot for clicks. When speculation began swirling that Hermes and other big brands might be secretly producing in China, some tried to pin the blame on Tanner's behind-the-scenes bag dissections. After all, it's easy to assume that once you start showing the guts of a $5,000 purse, you might as well be fueling rumors about it being cheaply made. But Tanner was quick to set the record straight. He never claimed Hermes was outsourcing to China. Instead, his goal is to demonstrate whether these expensive bags are worth their staggering price tags. If they are, he'll say so. If they aren't, he'll pull no punches. His audience has grown precisely because luxury lovers crave honest insight. In a market saturated with brand hype, slick marketing, and carefully curated illusions, a no-nonsense expert who cuts open the items can feel oddly refreshing. Yet, Tanner insists that brand origin rumors aren't coming from him. He's about revealing a bag's actual craftsmanship, not labeling them as made in China or made in France. He even chastises people who jump to conclusions based on partial evidence, like a torn seam or an off texture. According to him, it takes more than a single flaw to unravel an icon like Hermes. Ultimately, Tanner Leatherstein's role in this drama is equal parts scapegoat, truth teller, and catalyst. He's shining a floodlight into the shadows, but whether the emerging shapes are sinister or harmless is still up for debate. Among all the swirling allegations, nothing raises eyebrows quite like the idea of leaked videos from Chinese factories. These clips, often posted on TikTok, appear to show workers stitching together bags that look suspiciously like the high-end luxury products found on Rodeo Drive or Paris's Rue du Faubourg Saint-Honoré. The claim is that these aren't just run-of-the-mill knockoffs destined for discount markets, but actual legitimate orders from storied brands, including Hermes. For a lot of consumers, that jars painfully with the classic marketing tale of handmade by French artisans with centuries of heritage. So how did these potential whistleblowers surface? Many suspect it all ties into the trade tensions between the US and China. Back when tariffs ramped up, money got tight, and factories no longer felt as beholden to secrecy agreements if it meant losing out. According to this theory, disgruntled factory owners or workers decided to unveil the truth. At least some portion of the luxury supply chain might be outsourced to China to cut costs. If true, it would be a seismic shift in how these brands operate. Think about it. Hermes is famous for telling a story of one artisan crafting a bag from start to finish, using centuries-old techniques. A hidden assembly line across the globe calls that whole narrative into question. The question remains, are these leaks the real deal, or are they orchestrated? Observers note that any factory truly producing Hermes bags under a legitimate contract would guard that information like state secrets. If they got caught blowing the lid off, the brand's legal team would come down on them hard, likely ending their entire business. On the other hand, for those engaged in high-end replica production, passing off their own fakes as legit Hermes orders would be a sly way to market knockoffs. With smartphone footage easy to fake or misrepresent, it's nearly impossible to verify these claims without official brand confirmation, which Hermes seems unlikely to provide. The Hermes Birkin isn't just a handbag, it's a cultural icon that symbolizes status, exclusivity, and even emotional support. For celebrities like Cardi B and countless fashion devotees worldwide, owning a Birkin is more than a style choice. It's tied to a sense of accomplishment. The thrill goes way beyond simply carrying something fashionable. The moment someone wraps their fingers around those rolled handles, they feel as though they're holding a piece of history, artistry, and unobtainable allure. In that sense, the rumors of Chinese mass production don't just threaten the brand's image. It attacks the emotional core that makes these bags so beloved. Why such a strong emotional response? It's because a Birkin embodies the idea that something was meticulously hand-stitched by seasoned craftspeople in a legendary French workshop. The brand's romantic narrative has always been about slow, deliberate artistry, with each bag taking upwards of 18 to 24 hours to complete. This individuality supposedly makes each piece unique. Hence, discovering that the same item might be churned out in an assembly line. Environment can feel like learning the stone you believed was a rare diamond is actually cubic zirconia. Moreover, the personal sentiment isn't limited to status alone. Some individuals purchase Birkins to mark life milestones, like finishing a degree, landing a job promotion, or celebrating a special occasion. They're emotional trophies, each carrying memories and self-affirmations. For Cardi B specifically, each bag might symbolize something she overcame or rewarded herself for. They are, in her words, "Don't play with me accessories." So when that sense of authenticity gets replaced by the suspicion of industrial outsourcing, it's not just a shift in how one sees the bag, it's a shift in how one sees themselves. a painful awakening that the dream they bought into might not be as magical as they once believed. At the heart of the conversation about Hermes Birkins possibly being made in China lies one crucial question. How much does it really cost to produce one of these bags? And how does that compare to what consumers are shelling out? Conventional wisdom says a Birkin is costly because it's made from rare, high-quality materials, like crocodile or ostrich leather, tanned and dyed to brand specifications. Then there's the labor. One artisan, one bag, as Hermes famously boasts. Add in the brand's overhead, marketing, and distribution, and you get a bag that can easily retail for anywhere from $9,000 towel over $9,000 to well over $9,000 towel over $100,000, depending on the rarity of the leather and coloration. However, the rumored Chinese factory leaks quote far more modest production costs, anywhere from $400 to $400 to $700 per bag, depending on materials. This stark difference sparks anger, disbelief, and a tinge of betrayal for some. After all, if Hermes is indeed paying a fraction of that retail price for labor and materials, it begs the question of how massive the profit margins really are. Of course, big markups are no secret in the luxury industry. Brands rely on exclusivity and brand prestige to justify high prices, but the mythology of a dedicated French workshop adds a dimension of artistry that some customers are more willing to pay for. The suspicion that these bags may be assembled in the very same style as much cheaper products from a Shenzhen factory can stir buyers to question whether they've been deceived about craftsmanship. Opponents of the rumors argue that these leaked cost estimates might apply only to replica factories, not official Hermes partners. Even so, the conversation has escalated enough that it's forcing a reevaluation of perceived value. If the real cost of producing an IT bag is a small fraction of the final price, how much of people's payment is for quality and how much is for brand name alone? When scandal hits one major player in the luxury market, especially a legendary house like Hermes, it doesn't stay confined to a single brand. Unsurprisingly, the entire high-end fashion ecosystem feels the tremors of these allegations. If Hermes is suspected of outsourcing some or all production to China, then eyes immediately turn to other luxury giants, Chanel, Louis Vuitton, and Gucci, among others. No brand wants to be the next to face public outrage or see their carefully curated narrative of heritage craftsmanship unravel. Moreover, the trade tensions between China and the United States have already made brand executives in Europe and elsewhere jittery. Increased tariffs, political uncertainties, and fluctuating consumer trust in made-in-China products combine to create a climate where it's easier for suspicions to thrive. Long-standing partnerships between Western luxury houses and Chinese manufacturers, often kept discreet, may now be at risk as both parties fear negative press or legal actions if the truth surfaces. In some cases, factories in China have historically produced only certain bag components, zippers, clasps, or interior linings. Others claim final assembly is completed in Europe, allowing brands to maintain made in France or made in Italy labels under certain legal definitions. The deeper concern is that if consumers lose faith in the transparent craftsmanship story, the entire business model for luxury could shift. One of the main selling points for a Birkin or a Chanel 2.55 is the intangible aura of authenticity. People aren't just buying leather, they're buying the story of exclusive, painstaking artistry. If that mystique dissolves, brands might be forced to either drastically improve transparency or face a revolt among high-paying customers. Already, some watchers speculate that an era of deeper scrutiny is on the horizon, where factories, supply chains, and labor conditions will come under the same microscope once reserved for environmental issues and fair labor practices. Whenever a beloved luxury product gets caught in controversy, consumer reactions tend to splinter. Some people fall into outright denial. Hermes would never do that, clinging to brand loyalty as if they're defending a close friend. Others swing to the opposite extreme, feeling not just disappointed, but utterly conned. They might purge their closets, vow never to buy another Birkin, or take to social media to call out the brand for perceived dishonesty. In between these two extremes lies a gray area of consumers who aren't entirely sure what to believe. They see the videos from alleged Chinese factories, but they also see official brand statements reaffirming that Hermes only produces in France. They read social media spats between in-the-know industry insiders and random accounts posting leaked videos. Who to trust? These moderate consumers might wait for more concrete evidence before passing judgment. They might also realize that brands, like any giant corporation, often keep certain aspects of their supply chain behind closed doors for legitimate business reasons. Yet for many, the emotional roller coaster is the real story. Some folks saved up for years to buy that one dream Birkin, skipping social events and pushing off vacations. If the allegations turn out to be true, They feel robbed not just of money, but of the special moment they believed they were purchasing. Meanwhile, a subset of fashion fans remain surprisingly indifferent. They argue that all big brands outsource something, so they don't really care if part of their bag was made in Shenzhen instead of Paris. As long as the final product meets quality standards and has the signature look, they'll keep buying. For them, the "my bag is from Hermes" bragging rights remain intact, even if the label was stitched overseas. This mixture of denial, anger, indifference, and shock underscores just how personal and complex luxury consumption truly is. Beneath the entire Hermes made in China debate lies a broader, more provocative question. What is luxury really about? For decades, high-end brands have built an alluring mythology around artisanal craftsmanship, one-of-a-kind heritage, and exclusivity. Luxury isn't simply about quality. It's about tapping into a dream, one where a handbag symbolizes success, good taste, and membership in an elite cultural tier. Whether you're Cardi B or an everyday fashion enthusiast, owning a Birkin often signals that you've made it, as though you're stepping into a storybook mixing glamour with centuries-old artistry. However, as we peel back the layers, we see how often these narratives are shaped more by marketing genius than transparent facts. The possibility that a bag might be assembled in the same facilities producing lower-cost goods disrupts the entire illusion. Suddenly, the romantic tale of one artisan, one bag begins to look more like a tagline than a strict reality. At least that's the fear swirling among worried Hermes fans. In essence, the uproar reveals how deeply consumers tie their sense of identity to the brands they buy. A Birkin isn't just a purse. It's a marker of your personal brand, your taste, your belonging, your achievements. When whispers that luxury goods can be mass-produced a broad surface, it's unsettling because it suggests there's no real difference between a 25,000 bag and a cleverly made 25,000 bag, and a cleverly made 25,000 bag and a cleverly made 500 lookalike aside from marketing and hype. For those who pride themselves on discerning taste, the notion that they've been outsmarted or tricked by brand mystique triggers existential angst. So, beyond any single brand's scandal, this controversy chips away at the foundation of the luxury concept itself. Are we all just paying extra for a storyline? Or has this always been part of luxury's charm, that it's as much about theater and enchantment as it is about the actual object? As the rumor mill churns and Hermes vehemently defends its storied heritage, the one theme that emerges loud and clear is a hunger for honesty. Consumers, especially in today's digital age, are far more empowered to demand clear, verifiable details about where their products come from. If you're about to drop 5 figures on a handbag, it's not unreasonable to want a bag birth certificate of sorts, a document pinpointing which workshop and artisan had a hand in its creation. Some forward-thinking luxury houses are experimenting with blockchain technology to track the entire supply chain of their goods, offering peace of mind to discerning clients. Perhaps Hermes could consider something similar if they genuinely have nothing to hide. This has become more than just a fight to confirm whether a brand's claim of "made in France" or "hand-stitched by masters" is true. It reflects a growing societal movement toward ethical and transparent commerce. From coffee beans to diamond rings, consumers want to know the story behind their purchases. Luxury fashion is hardly exempt from this wave. In fact, one might argue that because of the astonishing markup and the hype surrounding such goods, the public is even more entitled to clarity. Still, transparency doesn't come easy in an industry built on secrecy, exclusivity, and carefully guarded brand mystique. Would Hermes, and others like it, willingly unravel the mystery that has served them so profitably? Some say yes, if it means restoring trust. Others suspect the veil of exclusivity is too central to the brand's DNA. Regardless, the demand for accountability grows stronger. People are waking up to the realization that part of the luxury they buy is the brand's story. If that story crumbles under scrutiny, no amount of gold-plated locks can preserve the brand's La Vie en Rose image. Ultimately, whether or not Hermes is manufacturing in China, the calls for authenticity, fair labor practices, and honest craftsmanship are only going to get louder.